Hello, Doctor Who fans, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who: The Edge of Destruction, the third Doctor Who story ever made. This is the third story for Doctor Who, starring William Hartnell as the first Doctor. So, what's the plot? Basically, something has caused the TARDIS console to explode in mid-flight, plunging the ship into darkness and rendering the crew unconscious. As they slowly recover, they find themselves suffering from a loss of memory and headaches. The TARDIS behaves oddly, as the doors open and close of their own accord. Has the ship been possessed in some way, or is something more dangerous happening to the time travellers? Dun dun dun! That is basically the plot of The Edge of Destruction. The Edge of Destruction. This is a really nice one, I have to say, it's really good. It's a much shorter story than the previous two, but I think that works in its favour in this case. The story is good. I like the story, and the fact that it is set primarily on the TARDIS is interesting. This one is essentially more of a character piece. There's not really a main antagonist other than, well, whatever's happening in the TARDIS. So I suppose, the episode really wants you to tricks you into thinking that maybe one of the four is the antagonist, but of course it isn't. It is incredibly short. It's 2 episodes. It's literally 2 parts. That's it. Which is fine, so the whole story ends up being 50 minutes long. It's quite a short story, but it's a nice little piece of filler. I think, again, like I said, it's a character piece, and that's what works really well, is the tension between the characters, how the Doctor's blaming Ian and Barbara for what's going on in the TARDIS, which of course is revealed later on in the day. There are some really dark, dramatic scenes here. The one that sticks out to me most is when Susan gets the pair of scissors and she can't control herself. She's uncontrollably sort of trying to jab Ian, and then she's jabbing the chair, and it's like, oh, God, what's happening there? And, there's all these, moments of, sort of paranoia and headaches and seizures. They're all sort of fainting, and the sense of paranoia and disturbia is very, very, very good here. I do feel that the story does kind of suffer without a main antagonist. We find out that it was basically just a piece of the ship that was in need of repairing. So it was a little anticlimactic, I would say. But the first part and, all the build-up towards the climax was very good. But I wasn't really convinced by the ending. I thought it was a little bit anticlimactic, a little disappointing. The performances are fantastic. William Hartnell was the Doctor, again, he's great. And you see, he's really grown to love these characters. He's really grown to love Ian and Barbara, and they really stand up to the Doctor now as well. They finally managed to resolve their differences, and, they make ends meet. So that's nice. Caroline Ford probably gives her best performance here. She's so good as Susan in this story. The sense of terror, and like I said, sort of the paranoia, disturbia, this kind of psychedelic aspects, the psychological aspects of this story are really interesting. It's a very different kind of story. There's no sort of central main antagonist like you said. And I think maybe we could have had something, at least at the end of the second part, that had sabotaged the TARDIS. I think it would have been better. But it's a simple story, so it doesn't affect it too much. There's not much to say about this one. It's because it's so short. I do think after the Daleks story, it's nicer to have a shorter story, even though this is dramatically shorter. This is 2 episodes. It's pretty basic, it's pretty simple. The ending is nice, with the 4 of them sort of going out into the snow, and then they see the footprint, which is, again, segueing into the next story. That's what I like about these earlier stories, is that they're all segued into each other, so it feels like one continuous story, even though it is essentially separate stories, one continuous arc with the separate stories within them. But yeah, there's not much to say. The production design is fine. They're in the TARDIS for the entire episode, so there's not much to say on that. And it is directed very well. Yeah. So that's really all I have to say. Sorry, this has been a short review, but there's just not much to say about it. So I'm gonna rate The Edge of Destruction. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. It's very dramatic, very dark, very intense. Kind of suffers without a main antagonist, but overall, I enjoyed it. It was great fun. It was really, really nice, and it was a nice continuation after the Dalek story. It was nicer to have a shorter story as well, just to sort of bridge, bridge in between. Obviously, because the next story is going to be longer. So that pretty much is it. That's my review of the Edge of Destruction. Sorry, I can't speak. That's my review of The Edge of Destruction. Tune in next time when I review Marco Polo. Although this is actually a story that is currently lost. Though what I'm reviewing will be the reconstruction, not the 30-minute one on this DVD, the full length one, which is on Daily Motion. I will be watching that one and reviewing that. So I'll specify that more in the next review. But yeah, that's my review of The Edge of Destruction, guys. Stay tuned for the Marco Polo review. Until then, I'm Mr. Tarnus11. See ya.